I too have a day job. I work for Alex Counts. He has the most unique way of casting a line, hooking you, pulling you in. And it's just been a great ride for me, Alex. I'm so thankful. There are a lot of folks here tonight who we call Grameenies. And I'd like to have those who are here who worked for Grameen in the past all stand up and be recognized because they helped build this organization to what it is today. And now I'd like to have our current staff stand up and be recognized because they're building even more. I think what you've just seen tonight is a tribute to Grameen Foundation and to Alex. We attract great people, they do great things, and we're very thankful for them. And on behalf of all of us at the Foundation, we want to thank you too for being here tonight and for all of your support. We're here to honor our founder, Alex Counts, and in that context, I would like to add to what some of my colleagues have said tonight about Grameen Foundation, to emphasize what Alex has created. In the tradition of Muhammad Yunus and the Grameen family, we're an organization that's focused on improving the lives of the poor, especially the poorest and the most marginalized, who live in remote rural areas, and more than often, they're women. As Camilla mentioned earlier, we've given ourselves a very exciting goal to reach 25 million poor and poorest by the year 2025. Now, you heard that in our first 18 years, we managed to reach 24 million. So in the next 10, I am really sure we're going to reach another 25 million, and I bet we exceed that goal. It's a simple goal. It's to increase the incomes of the poorest in order to improve their lives. And we put all of our energy and creativity into making that happen. Our success is defined from making sure our beneficiaries are at the center of our solutions. Our staff go to their homes, they listen to their struggles and observe their routines, and they ask their families for feedback, and then with local partners, we together design solutions for them. And sometimes this means that when we're successful, we step aside and we let our partners take over so they can reach and scale even more. In essence, since our founding in 1997, we've creatively responded to the rapid changes occurring in the world of philanthropy, in government aid, in impact investing, and in the rise of social businesses, and always with a laser focus on our mission. It's been an amazing 18 years. And as someone who's been around for quite a number of those years, I've been truly honored to be a part of it. In all those 18 years, we've had Alex Counts at the helm. And although he is now stepping down in favor of Steve Hollingworth, who is a Freedom from Hunger and Care senior executive, Alex will forever be our founder. Alex and Steve are longtime colleagues. They both worked for CARE in Bangladesh, and they both served together on umbrella boards and other organizations. And Steve could not be with us tonight, but we welcome him to the Grameen family as we honor Alex. Let me also recognize David Edelstein. David has been our interim CEO for the last 6 months and has done an exceptional job. We thank you immensely, David. It's time to honor Alex, and we do so for his courage to launch Grameen Foundation and the success he has had in making it what it is today. After working for 3 years at Results International here in the United States, and then with Dr. Yunus and with CARE for 5 years in Bangladesh, Dr. Yunus believed in Alex so much that he gave him a grant and selected him to launch Grameen Foundation. With grit and determination and with the boldest of vision, Alex has done this and made the foundation a global force for alleviating poverty. He was just 4 years into building Grameen Foundation when I first met him, just a few blocks from here. And he had a staff of less than 10 people, and he was raising funds for one project, basically to fund fledgling microfinance institutions. And since then, under his leadership, his talented teams have launched many initiatives, many that have improved the lives of millions and millions of people. There's so many programs to mention, but I want to tell you about 3 more. Tonight, as we enjoy being together, millions of women and families across India are getting access to free healthcare information. Our open source program is deployed across 35 states in India, and it's reaching almost 10 million people with audio messaging services for pregnant women and others in need. And we're offering mobile training and visual job aid for frontline health workers. I'm very proud to tell you that right now, this is the largest mobile health program in the world. In Colombia, we're using mobile technology to connect rural coffee farmers to information and agricultural best practices that will help them manage their farms more efficiently, improve their productivity, and allow them to improve prices for their crops. And in Uganda, we have changed the face of micro-savings groups through the use of mobile phones. Now a savings group can transfer money directly to a bank. This both provides security, much needed, and creates a banking relationship and is another step in the quest for financial inclusion for the poor. These 3 stories represent the leverage that Grameen Foundation gets out of every dollar that you provide us, from its technology, from its innovation, and from its partnerships. Leverage is, due to Alex's vision, part of our DNA. There's so many more such stories that I could tell, but in a moment, let me call on a number of people who would like to tell you their Alex stories. But first, I want to close by saying to you, Alex, that you and your colleagues have made this a very rewarding journey for us. Thank you for inviting so many of us to participate with you. And thank you from all of us for dedicating your life's work to serving those most in need. Now, I'm going to call some folks up on the stage. We're going to call a series of folks up on the stage who would like to tell stories about Alex. We're going to make them stand up here. And so it'll be succinct and short. But anyway, let me first start with Paul Halal, who will represent Grameen Foundation's board, Ann Hastings and Julian Schroeder, who represent Foncosé, the leading MFI in Haiti, Susan Davis, representing our past boards, Zahar Al-Manajid, representing Grameen Jameel, our joint venture with the Jameel family, Donna Nelson and Emily Counts, representing our grassroots donors and Alex family, Mike Schlein, representing the Microcredit Working Group, Jack Lipman and Barbara Weber, representing past GF staff, and Julia Sawyers and Sabrina Qureshi, representing current staff. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob, for those wonderful words. It's really a privilege to be addressing this group of people tonight, especially because it's in the context of honoring the achievements of a very wonderful guy who I've known since he was 14 years old, really. About 7 years ago, my wife Josephine and I went to the annual Alumnus of the Year award at for my high school, Horace Mann. And usually, this award is for people's lifetime achievements. And it goes to people who've had the greatest impact on the world. And you can imagine an award like that generally goes to someone in their late 60s or early 70s. And it'll come as little surprise to the people in this room that on that particular night, the honoree for this great award was none other than Alex, at the young age of 42 or 43 years old, something like that. It was really terrific to see Alex that night. Lives what they are, people get busy. We had not had the opportunity to stay in close touch. I did know he had dedicated his life to ameliorating global poverty, but that's basically all I knew. I didn't really have a lot of detail on what he was doing. At the award dinner, I was struck by a number of things. The first and most obvious was that Alex had hardly aged since high school. Most arrestingly and disturbingly, the guy still had the same full head of hair he had 30 years ago, with no gray. Okay? So I'm going to take this opportunity to say, you bastard. The banquet hall full of, short attention span overachievers that comprise the Horace Mann alumni base sat really enraptured for more than an hour, listening to Alex recount his journey from Cornell to Bangladesh to Washington, D.C. And in that journey, he had done some incredible things. Perhaps the greatest thing is meeting his wonderful life partner, Emily. And a distant second, he changed the world for the better. And he did so by creating an organization that helped reduce the structural impediments, and I'm talking about financial impediments, information impediments, and other impediments, structural impediments that made almost fruitless the most determined efforts of the poorest in the world to climb out of poverty. That's really a miraculous thing. And in doing that, he helped countless millions of people have better lives and help give their children better lives and kind of break the cycle of poverty, at least give it a chance of being broken. And as Alex will be the first to tell you, this was not Alex's work alone. He'll be the first to say, it wasn't me, it was the incredible staff of the Grameen Foundation, it was the stewardship of the committed board of directors over many, many years, and he'll say it was the incredible generosity of the donors who share their precious and scarce financial resources with the organization to empower the mission. And he will say that, but that does not take from the fact that it was Alex who founded it and Alex who led it for nearly 2 decades to what it is today. And that has to be recognized by all of us. Thank you. So listening over that evening to Alex recount what Grameen did, how they did it, and the impact it had, and the journey of the foundation, like the others in the room, I couldn't help but be awed at what he had achieved. He and the team and the donors and the board had achieved. I was awed, but strangely, I was not surprised. And I was not surprised because I had witnessed decades earlier the same great qualities in nascent form that enabled the spectacular achievement that is Grameen. And I was very honored and pleased that Alex invited me a couple of years later to join the board of Grameen Foundation. And I've been on the board for about 4 years now, and in that capacity I've had a chance to see Alex up close and in action. And also to watch with great admiration the team that had been assembled around him, the team of staff, the team of directors, and the team of financial supporters that were backing him as much as they were backing the organization. I was so impressed by that, so struck by that, and I was also so struck by the culture of the Grameen Foundation, the culture at the organization level and at the board level, and also the decision-making process and actions of what I think of as the Grameen machine. It's really an incredible experience, and I gained a new appreciation for the young man I knew at the age of 14. And of the many qualities that I could talk about Alex, the one that I'd like to highlight tonight is one of the 4 great virtues that we learned about in 11th grade in Mr. Newcomb's philosophy class when we read Plato's Republic. And the one virtue from those 4 that I would highlight is the virtue of courage. And it was a word that Bob used earlier, kind of coincidentally, or maybe not coincidentally because it's so true. But Alex has, then and today, has tremendous courage. You need courage to lead. It's an absolute prerequisite. And where so many leaders fear dissent, Alex encourages dissent because he wants to hear the strongest counter-arguments to a point. Where so many leaders seek to obscure their actions from criticism or critique, Alex is the one who pushes for extreme transparency with the idea that, hey, look, maybe we can learn something and become better from this extreme transparency. Where so many leaders eschew accountability, Alex is the fellow pushing for metrics, objectively measurable metrics, that can help the organization understand where its strengths are, but much more importantly, where its weaknesses and opportunities for improvement are. And all of that is courage. And it's that same courage that emboldened Alex to venture to the far-off land of Bangladesh at just 21 to go through the 7-year adventure there. And that ingredient of courage has been critical to Grameen's success today, and it's going to power the next extraordinary chapter in what is already a very extraordinary life. So I think on behalf of the board, on behalf of the literally countless millions of people that have benefited from your work, I'd like to say congratulations on what you've done, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have to apologize. I did force myself on this lineup, and I do not have stories about Alex. But I wanted to take a moment in the name of Grameen Jameel, the joint venture partner of Grameen Foundation, to thank you all. One, for organizing this event. This means a lot to me. Also, I wanted to tell you that I have traveled 15 straight hours to attend this dinner tonight for 2 reasons. The first is to reconfirm my commitment, our commitment, to our partnership with Grameen Foundation. But the more important reason for me is that I wanted to be here in person to reaffirm my friendship and underscore my appreciation to Alex Counts. I am also here to convey the gratitude and gratefulness of the Jameel family and all the staff of Grameen Jameel in Dubai and elsewhere. We have worked hand in hand with Alex for around 15 years to develop and support microfinance in the Middle East. It was a bumpy road and a bumpy ride, and we were sometimes at loggerhead, and many times our opinions differed. But through mutual respect and a common purpose, we managed to deliver durable impact, and deep friendships were forged. I admire Alex because he's a man with a cause, a man of passion that sticks to his principles and ideals. And men like him, in my opinion, in a transition like the transition today, will not find that this is the end of the road. But this is just another step in the journey of social impact and poverty alleviation. It's another chapter in the book of making the world a better place. Thank you, Alex.
Good evening, Alex. My name's Jackie Littman. I guess I was the first employee of Grameen Foundation. When I first met Alex, he was 21. He had just gotten off the plane from Bangladesh to be at a regional conference in Atlanta for results. He seemed affable and harmless. I didn't spend any time with him for another 8 years after that. I volunteered at the results office on and off, and I didn't really see him again until the Microcredit Summit. I was volunteering for the Microcredit Summit because somebody had asked me to come in and help, and a day later I got a call from Alex saying, could you please be kind of the Grameen eyes on the ground at the Microcredit Summit office? And I said, sure. And then I completely forgot about him and went to work at the Microcredit Summit office doing whatever needed to be done and giving no thought whatsoever to Alex and Grameen. I'm really sorry about that. After the Microcredit Summit was over, Alex and his wife were moving back to DC permanently and asked if they could stay with me, and I said sure. And they showed up at my house with the luggage. Enough luggage to fill my house, and squatted in my living room for months while we launched Grameen Foundation in a room at the results offices that comfortably held the entire staff of 3. It wouldn't have held 4. It smelled like Subway sandwiches, because it was over the Subway sandwich shop. The carpet moved of its own volition. We had, I think, 2 computers put together by Shomit with chewing gum and paper clips. I don't know how we did that. We had no website or anything. And then Parade Magazine did an article about Muhammad Yunus and Grameen Bank, and the letters started arriving, and we didn't have email or letterhead to respond to them. And that was the first year. I went on vacation for a couple days, and when I came back, I was the development director. Because the only people in the office were Alex and Jeff Davis and me. And because I was the one who wasn't there, I got to be the development director. Because they didn't want me to go. And what I knew about development was you throw a party and charge people to go. So that's what we did. We had a dinner at an Indian restaurant, and we raised $7,000. It was amazing. It was so easy. And then the next event we had was in conjunction with the Microcredit Summit regional meeting the following year. So we had a ready audience of potential attendees, and we raised $110,000. And it was astonishing. And then I started to learn how to do actual development work. But I planned the first 7 years worth of events for Grameen Foundation. And whoever said that there's no growth without mistakes was talking about those first couple years of the Grameen Foundation. We instituted the staff can't drink at work events. And all right. I would just like to say that my car was the company car, because I was the only one who had a car. And so I was up at 3 a.m. very often driving Alex to BWI to take the cheapest flight available to go meet with potential donors. And when Professor Yunus came to town to meet with Hillary Clinton at the White House, I drove him there in my little green tracker because it was the company car. So to be here tonight, 18 years later, and yet I haven't aged a day, seriously, this is real, is amazing. I see Betty Sams, and I loved your husband. He was such a gift. Jim Sams was one of our original board members, and he was such a gift to us. He taught us a lot when we really needed some teaching. But even, from the beginning, these people were so focused and so passionate about the work. And Alex was the center of everything. There were concepts that were alien to me, like attention to detail. And if you say you're going to be there at 9, you're going to be there at 9, not 9:02. That I've carried with me into other jobs where other people don't. That kind of attention to, be your word. And if you say you're going to do something, you do it. And if you can't, you apologize and don't tell a story about it. I'm so grateful for everything I learned at Grameen Foundation. I might not have said so at the time, but I certainly am now. And you changed my life. I love you. And more than you, I love Emily because, wow, you did good.
Well, harkening back to a similar era, I still remember the day, February 4th, 1997. I met Alex. Together with some of the other people in the room tonight, Jackie Littman, Jennifer Roby, Sam Daly-Harris, we had just said goodbye to 2,900 people who had come from 137 countries to launch a global campaign to reach 100 million of the world's poorest families with access to credit. Alex, with his wife Emily, and this was before they had Seymour, had been living in Bangladesh for the past many years. But still, this was a moment in history, and we had just dared to see what a small group of committed citizens could do to change the world. And right then, just like that, in 1997, enter Alex. Today, the movement is credited with being the largest, most successful, intentional mobilization of the world's poor in human history. No doubt, this is and was a movement of many. But tonight, we recognize and honor one of the giants among us. Alex could go in many directions from here. After all, we have yet to see the inaugural International Carter Brothers Band tour, and Stacey Brooks has yet to headline the Super Bowl halftime show. But I want to urge him to consider something different. I'm lobbying for a CEO boot camp. There are things that Alex does consistently and uniquely and phenomenally well, like crediting and acknowledging people. Have you ever heard him give any remarks, any at all, without mentioning the litany of people who made it possible? Ever notice how any success has a veritable lineage? He can and does trace back the genesis of ideas and victories. It is one of the most generous and gracious things that I have ever encountered in another human being. But lest you think I am solely enamored, let me tell you this. Alex took donor stewardship to new heights, by which I mean some very lows. When Alex and I were working intensely with some of the titans of Silicon Valley, not wanting to spend hard-earned donor money on lodging while traveling, Alex would book us into a little shanty in the otherwise posh Palo Alto. It was called the Glass Slipper. I think we must have spent $29 a night per room. And this thriftiness must have gotten inculcated and passed down, because when Alex hired Peter Blayton to launch the Grameen Technology Center in 2001 in Seattle, those small digs similarly screamed, "We do not spend donor money on office space." In fact, it used to be worth the coffee break just to go down the street to the espresso stand to use the restrooms there. But tonight is not a night for holding grudges. Alex, you have given so many of us in this room tonight, people who have flown in from the Middle East, from Tulsa, from Beijing, from Sri Lanka, from the Philippines, from all over. You have given us the chance to live richly, deeply, and meaningfully. You've given us the chance to be a part of something that matters greatly. The chance to make a real difference with our time, talent, and treasure. And regarding your treasure, I understand Patricia Devereaux is in the room. Okay, there you go. Okay, you can talk to her later, and you have the cards from Peter on your table. So, tonight, just as you, Alex, have always reminded us that in all of our accomplishments, we stand on the shoulders of giants, tonight, we recognize and thank you. We stand on the shoulders of giants, and we thank you, a giant among us.
Thank you, good evening. My name is Michael Schlein, I'm the CEO of Axiom. And it was not long ago that if you could get someone from Grameen and Axiom on the same stage, it probably was for a debate, a wrestling match, or a food fight, and sometimes it was for all three. Let's just say the two organizations did not get along. Until we did. And how and why did that happen? Well, the leadership of Alex Counts was key. Following the crisis in Andhra Pradesh in 2010 and the deep concerns it raised for the future of financial inclusion, Asad Mahmood called several of the leaders in the industry together, and Alex was among his first phone calls. It was clear to Alex that the differences that we have had were dwarfed by what we could do and needed to do together. A few meetings later, the Microfinance CEO Working Group was born. I know, catchy name, right? Today, the group includes Grameen, Axiom, BRAC, CARE, Finca, Freedom from Hunger, Opportunity International, Promo Hair, Women's World Banking, and Vision Fund. Collectively, we represent 250 microfinance institutions, more than 90 savings groups in 89 countries, and combined we serve 75 million clients. Now, we still have our differences, but Alex pushed us to see the common goals and to make some choices. We chose to focus on the common agenda rather than on the differences. We chose to focus on raising the standards in the field by promoting responsible microfinance. We chose to put our collective weight behind strengthening consumer protection, transparency, and social performance standards. We chose to encourage our respective staffs to share ideas and work together. When we come together, we challenge ourselves to think about the industry as a whole and what we can do together. Now, Alex was not only one of the key founders, but he really is the heart and soul of the group. I've been CEO now of Axiom for 6 years, which makes me one of the new kids at the table. Alex is the dean. He has the stature, the credibility, the vision, and the commitment to help us all find that common ground for the good of the industry, and more importantly, for billions of people who are the most vulnerable people in the world. Now, fortunately, when we get too serious, Alex has a wit and a charm that is both refreshing and self-deprecating. He's quick with a joke, and occasionally the jokes are actually funny. I've always had a great respect for Alex, but over the last few years I've come to really admire him, to be inspired by him, and to value him as a colleague and a friend. I've seen him wrestle with and take very difficult decisions. I've seen him challenge and lead his peers, and I've seen him compromise when it was the right thing to do. It's rare when professional relationships cross the line into real friendships, but my friend, there's no going back now. So on behalf of the microfinance industry and the Microfinance CEO Working Group, it's my pleasure to thank you and appreciate all that you have done for us and for all the people who count on us around the world. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Donna Nelson, and I guess I'm here representing the Key West contingency. If anybody of you know, Alex spends a little bit of time in Key West, and like Jackie, I understand when he shows up at your door with a suitcase. It explodes. In November of 2009, I drug Alex off of a dance floor into a parking lot so I could tell him about my son who was going to Georgetown and interested in microfinance. Yeah, anybody seen Alex dance? You probably would have thanked me. Since then, Alex has become my little bro, the brother I never had, the uncle to my children. Not many people would actually go with or listen to a crazy blonde stranger who is dragging you out into a parking lot. But Alex isn't just anyone. Not only did he give my son, Jordan, an internship at the Grameen Foundation, but he embraced it. Following his graduation, Alex helped Jordan get a job in the DR with the Esperanza, a sister program. It was all about paying it forward. Just as Muhammad Yunus had opened up his world of microfinance to a young Alex fresh out of college, Alex opened up his world to my family. Because of Alex, my husband and I traveled to the Dominican Republic and met with the clients that my son Jordan was charged with helping. I myself come from a long line of entrepreneurs, and I am a small business owner myself. Listening to the women's stories in the DR brought tears to my eyes. They have so little to start up with, but they work very, very hard to make better lives for themselves and their families. Alex has mentored my daughter Morgan, who is here in the house tonight, by welcoming her on a trip to Haiti to help gather information for his next book. He is her go-to guy while she needs advice in college. And if anybody wants to know about that next book, when it's going to be out, ask Alex about the cocktail napkin contract that Emily and Morgan drew up. If I recall, Alex, the deadline is May 31st of this year. The Alex that you know makes changes in the lives of people all over the world. But for me, he is a man that has made changes in the lives of one small family from Key West. Alex refers to us as the Crazy Nelson clan. Yeah, some of you know of us. Check us out on Facebook. He has brought to us the idea of a world without poverty. He has enlightened us as to how one small contribution from a family like ours can make a huge difference in the lives of another family in a remote part of the world. He has encouraged and enabled my children to work with and volunteer in the world of microfinance. In my eyes, he is the man who can 1 minute be on a conference call to Uganda and the next minute skiing down the mountain in a blow-up costume or a tutu with bunny ears, just to make me happy, his big sis. I love you, even though you are a Cowboys fan.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Emily Counts. 18 years, 2 minutes? Really? The journey has been long. I've known Alex for 25 years. I met him when he was the Results Legislative Director and was sleeping at night under the big poster of Martin Luther King that hangs in his office. He's slept under that poster since he was 16. As a young man, he had that righteous indignation just pulsating as he was trying to struggle with the social issues of the day. And all my friends warned me, stay away from him. But there was a group who were sure in their heart of hearts Alex was the one I should be with. My friend Barb Scott said, accurately, if you spend your life with Alex, it will never be boring. She was right about that. Fortunately, along the way, you've made me laugh in the darkest hours. You've had a spirit of inclusion and commitment to a better world that has allowed the people in this room and so many more to share our life and the journey of Grameen Foundation. There have been amazing moments of success, and then there have been the very long, dark nights. My gratitude goes out to those of you here in the room who have been here during the good and the bad times. You know who you are, but I have to say special thanks. Susan, I want you in my boat every day. Alex, over the years, you've inspired me and you have perplexed me. Still trying to figure out how you get your cell phone cat litter down a French drain in the middle of a thunderstorm. But anything is possible. But I have to say, when it's mattered, you've known what the right decision is to make. You turned to me and said, stop thinking about it, just marry me. The cat's name is Seymour. Foncose again, and Foncose again. Naturally, there had to be a Carter Brother fan club, and everybody should have 3 10-year-old triplets live with them for 5 months. You've expanded our family to include the Nelsons and the great Big Joyous family down in Key West. But the biggest and most monumental decision that was ever made was starting Grameen Foundation. Ignorance is bliss. Looking back, I can't believe how casually we made that decision. But then it seems to be on the big decisions, that's the way we roll. We spend more time figuring out how to buy a bottle of wine. It's true. Ask Nick about how we bought our house. A well-regarded business executive said that there are many people who have a vision to start an organization, but the rare individual has the ability to take that and turn that into something that makes a difference and is sustainable. And he noted that you were one of the few people who had achieved that. You have had an impact in the lives of people with a level of integrity that is hard to find. Am I proud of what you've accomplished? Absolutely. But of course, I'm much more proud of how you did it and who you've become along the way. If this is the first act in your play, I can't wait to see what you do next. Alex, we raise our glass to you. I love you.
for many years now. I remember so well the first day that we met, when the founder of Funkose and I marched into his office and told him we were building a bank the poor could call their own, and he should help us do that. I think he was more than a bit doubtful about our capacity to do that, but in Alex's fashion, he did send two of his best people, Sharmi Soban, who's here tonight, and Nigel Bigger, to take a look at what we were actually doing. They came to Haiti full of goodwill, even though Nigel had to get out of my car on occasion because my car couldn't make it up the hill if anyone was sitting in the back seat. But they came back with one important recommendation. These people need to understand what a center is, because at that time, although we had solidarity groups of 5 women, we were trying to service them all one by one. So then, in 2001, Alex arranged for an employee of the Grameen Bank, Mr. Salam, to come to Haiti. And he stayed for 10 months helping us to implement the center methodology. Now, this was a man who had never been out of Bangladesh in his life, and he had never seen the ocean. And he came to Haiti with a suitcase full of rice, because he didn't understand that rice was a staple of the Haitian diet. And his first day there, which happened to be an employee day for Funkose, the employees made sure he was introduced to the ocean fully clothed. He stayed 10 months, and the day before he left, he announced to me that he thought the Grameen methodology would work better in Haiti than in Bangladesh. It seemed like it took too many years, but finally I got Alex himself interested in coming to Haiti and serving on the board of Funkose USA. Not only was he able to make a tremendous number of improvements to the running of that organization, but he even started writing a book about Funkose, segments of which he posted as a series of blogs, not a few of which were really embarrassing to me. Like the time he told the world about my effectively kidnapping the wife and 2 children of a man who had robbed Funkose that very day. I still have people I don't know coming up to me and saying, "Are all those stories Alex told about you really true?" But once Alex committed himself to Funkose, he stayed with it for more than 10 years, and his leadership helped Funkose emerge from the earthquake in Haiti a much stronger institution. I didn't realize at the time just how much he sacrificed for Funkose during those years, but I know that his leadership was truly significant. 2.5 years ago, when it was time for me to leave Funkose, which may have been the hardest thing I've ever decided to do, much more difficult than the decision to go to Haiti in the first place, I found out just how deep our friendship had become. Alex was with me every step of the way, whenever I needed him, showing me how to get through the pain of leaving my baby behind, because that's what I thought Funkose had become, my baby. He helped me to understand at a deeper level what my real legacy was, and he consistently offered me encouragement and understanding. While many people here tonight have talked about his professional accomplishments, I want everyone to understand what a truly great friend Alex is. I only hope that I have been able to provide him with a modicum of the support he gave me, as he is now going through a transition of his own. Michael Schlein has talked tonight about his contributions to the Microfinance CEO Working Group, but as the current executive director of that collaboration, I just want to say what a joy it has been for me to continue to work closely with Alex, to learn from him, to disagree with him, to challenge him, and to have a tremendous amount of fun with him. Like the time all 10 of the CEOs met in California, and I convinced him that he would have to be the driver of our van because it was too expensive to hire a driver. Alex quipped, "You mean I'm going to be driving the industry?" Of course, Alex, you've been driving the industry for years. Thank you.
I'm most pleased to be here this evening to celebrate Alex's 20 years of service to the poor through the Grameen Foundation. My own particular connection with Alex has been through his service to Foncosé, and particularly in the 3 years from 2012 through the middle of this year. As Anne mentioned, Foncosé is the largest microfinance institution in Haiti, with about 45 branches and over $12 million of loans, mostly to 60,000 poor women in rural Haiti. And Foncosé evolved to become a family of closely affiliated organizations. But by early 2012, it was clear we needed to improve governance and coordination between the different Foncosé organizations. We formed the Foncosé Family Coordinating Committee, which Alex co-chaired with me, and to raise needed funding, we formed the Futures Committee, which Alex chaired alone. Alex and I worked closely together for the last 3 years to build a stronger Foncosé. And I could cite major accomplishments driven by these two committees, but instead, I'm going to talk about a subtler quality, one easily overlooked, and that is Alex's commitment to the quality of language. Alex cares deeply about accurate and careful use of language, whether in speaking or writing, and this quality extends to listening to other people. His leadership inculcated these values into all of us that participated in his meetings, and I believe led to better decisions with far greater harmony among our diverse constituencies. To start each meeting, Alex laid out the key themes, ones that went deeper than the immediate issues we were about to discuss. In our meetings, he encouraged careful listening. He took the time to solicit the ideas of the choir members, ones whose first language was Haitian Creole. He drew them out. Whatever his particular opinion on an issue, he always tried to solicit all views, including those with which he disagreed. I remember on one occasion, Alex was particularly proud of a very open discussion we had had, even though the eventual outcome was completely the opposite of what he had advocated. This careful language extended to careful preparation of the written agenda and elaborate comments and emendations to the draft minutes. And I know because I prepared those drafts. Perhaps I am particularly sensitive right now to the contrast between Alex's careful use of language and the crude nature of so much political discourse. I would go so far as to say that I think many of our problems today stem from not political disagreement, but from the failure of proponents of many ideas to thoughtfully articulate them, such that nobody is listening to any opinions other than their own. I think the accomplishments of the Foncosé Family Coordinating Committee and the Futures Committee rest on the foundation of respectful language engendered by Alex. Alex, I tremendously enjoyed our last 3 years working together, and I hope that you will continue to use your remarkable talents to serve the poor throughout the world. Thank you very much.
I'm Susan Davis, so honored to speak on behalf of all the former board members, many of whom are in the room, so may I ask that you all stand tonight and be recognized, all the former board of directors of Grameen Foundation. Privileged to serve for 17 years since our start in 1977. I've learned two things after I've crossed the 50-year marker. One is that your memory goes downhill faster than Emily can ski, and it's not so thrilling. The second is the reason I've written my remarks out tonight. Reflecting on this amazing man and incredible journey, I came up with the ABCs of Alex Counts. Last two coming up. A is for author, activist, and adorable Alex. B is for brilliant, boyish, badass builder extraordinaire of boards with Bobo and Bobby and GF, and for the Bangla, which he learned. C is for creative. Credit, his first book, Counting What Counts, a collaborative and cute coalition builder who's able to change and have the courage of his convictions and eat a lot of chicken Caesar salads, and finds time to start the Carter Brothers fan club, and of course be president. And did I mention he loves cats? Seymour. D is for delightfully disciplined, whether dieting or not, dazzlingly diligent, a fan of Dick Gunther, Dallas, and DACA. E is, of course, for Emily, energetic and enthusiastically empathetic. 18 years of email. F is for fun, at times frisky, always a fearless fundraiser, and a fabulous friend. A frequent flyer, a former Fulbright scholar, and a survivor of many floods. G is for good to the core, always on the cusp of greatness. At least we think so, right, Alex? Actually, some would say gorgeous. But I think all of us would agree, G is for Grameen. H is for half full, never half empty. He's that kind of guy with a really big heart. I is for interesting, interested, incredibly thoughtful. J is for just and Jamil. K is for know-it-all, who kicks butts in Key West and beyond. L is for loving, lovable, lucky, and a leader. M is for memorable, with a great memory, but musically challenged because he had microfinance on the brain, but definitely has some good moves now on the dance floor, which we'll see shortly. N is for nice, at times naive, and for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006. You remember eating that reindeer, Alex? O is for open and optimistic, at times opportunistic. P is for performance-oriented, reformed perfectionist, project enterprise, and the Peters and Pauls in his life. Q is for questioning and quality. R is for the road warrior, results, the reader, researcher, the regular kind of guy, the reviver of relationships, even Reed Oppenheimer, our first chair, and a relay race runner who knows when to pass the baton. S is for shockingly smart, scholarly, formerly sarcastic, now self-reflective, seasoned by Jim Sams and Betty, Sam Daly Harris, Steve Rockefeller, and of course, the Susan. T is for thoughtful, tireless thought leader, former technophobe who actually started the Grameen Technology Center, and a talented team player. U is for unbeatable, unbiased, understanding from USAID to United Airlines. V can't be for Virgin, can it? No, for values-driven visionary, very valuable, and at times even vulnerable. W's for writer, wonkish, with it, worthy, wine drinking, and full of wins, from investing in very small MFIs with money, talent, enthusiasm to produce world-class rock stars of our field, from Card to Kashpur to Asha and so many more. X is for X-rated sometimes, but I won't go into that. Y is, of course, for Eunice and Yvette, youthful. He's always younger than me, which pisses me off, but he's always had time for all the younger people who are trying to break into this field. In fact, he's given away probably more books than I have on social entrepreneurship. Z is for zeal, zest, zip for life, for Zahir, and most importantly, zero poverty in our lifetimes. We celebrate Alex's vision and accomplishments. Thank you, Alex. We love you. Here's to you.
Great, I get to follow Susan. Thank you to everyone for being here tonight to celebrate Alex Counts and Grameen Foundation. My name is Julia Sawyers and I'm the General Counsel for Grameen. I want to start by thanking Alex. Almost 11 years ago, he took a chance and he hired me as the first full-time General Counsel at Grameen. Hopefully I've done you proud. My primary task was to keep him out of jail, and somehow I have succeeded. We've worked side by side over the last 10 years, and we've traveled the world together. And from you, I've learned the true meaning of passion, of dedication, of loyalty, and commitment. There were many times I didn't know where in the world you were, but I always knew you would respond immediately and that you had my back. In speaking with current employees to prepare for tonight, a theme began to emerge. A few of the words to describe you were generous, inclusive, competitive, and inspirational. Alex is always generous with his time, his energy, and his passion. No matter where you sat within GF, he was always willing to take the time to speak with you, to learn from them, and to share his passion. Alex is always inclusive. He's allowed all GF staff to share in his mission, regardless of where they were, whether they're a newcomer, an old-comer. He never harbored a sense of, look what I've built alone, but always inclusive to current and former staff. One need only look around this room tonight to see this in action. There are so many current and former staff here to honor him. I'd like to ask all the current and former staff to please stand, and you can see what Alex is doing. Alex has an amazing competitive spirit. So many staff have fond memories of Alex's competitive spirit, from tennis matches to ultimate frisbee to passionately impersonating an elephant at our last staff event. I personally have witnessed this competitive spirit many times, none more so than watching Alex and Peter Bladen playing ping pong. And inspirational. Alex, you've inspired so many people around the world to band together in a tireless fight to end world poverty. And so I want to thank you, Alex. Thank you for creating this incredible organization, for allowing me the privilege and the honor of working side by side with you for the last 10 years, for being an incredible boss, mentor, leader, and now, most importantly, for being a true friend. I will always do my best to carry forward your legacy in the coming years.
My name is Sabrina Qureshi, and I'm the Director of Bankers Without Borders program at Grameen Foundation. A few weeks ago, Alex came to me and asked me in true Alex style and complete humility, Sabrina, I have a favor to ask of you. Can you speak a few words at the gala? And if you feel uncomfortable or don't want to do it, I won't hold you against it. And it was, of course, a reverberating yes from me. And it's an honor to be standing here tonight and to admit that you were a big reason for me to join Grameen Foundation about 8 years ago. I often joke that Alex is my brother from another mother. He's more Bangladeshi than I think I am. And he does speak Bangla with a very heavy accent. He might fool you that he's fluent, but that accent is uncanny. And sometimes I actually feared that during his trips to Bangladesh that the local immigration would actually turn him back in that same plane. But joking aside, one of the reasons why I joined Grameen Foundation was the strong history and heritage that we held with Grameen Bank in Bangladesh. And I salute to Alex for keeping that tie so strong for the last 18 years. I know Julia mentioned his approachability, and I've seen it not just with the Grameen Foundation staff members here in the US or in our regional offices, but I got to experience it 10,000 miles away, whether it's at Grameen Bank headquarters or in the remote villages of Bangladesh, always ready with a chuckle or a story. So I'm here not just representing the Grameen Foundation staff, but representing the many Bangladeshis whose lives you have positively touched. And how many CEOs out there do you know who often or regularly invite the staff to his home for dinner, or even better, join him for a dance or a concert or a band somewhere in the city? So maybe it is our time to invite you over here, maybe for a dance or two. But I welcome everyone for a big round of applause for Alex, for the incredible organization that you've built, and for putting poverty in a museum, hopefully in our lifetime. Come on up here.
On behalf of Chiapas, I'd like to present you with this heart for all of the hearts that you have touched in the world. On behalf of everyone at Grameen Foundation, I want to present you with this book of memories. We've piled everything together and tried to put it in one place so you'll never forget us.
No one told you guys that this was black tie? You know, my father told me when I was young in my career that and thank you all for doing such a great job coming out and doing that, really. My father, who's watching this from above, when I asked him about the importance of sending people off in a nice way, he said to me something that stuck with me. He said, when you send off someone from a community or an organization the right way, you're actually doing it more for the people that are staying than the person that's going. And what I took that to mean was that you're reinforcing that your community or your organization values effort and values results of the person who's going, but really everyone. And so if you'd indulge me in giving a round of applause to everyone in this room and beyond who's contributed to our mission over 18 and a half years, I'd appreciate it. This is with all of the people that I respect and love here, it feels a little bit like my wedding. Except at my wedding, I got to sit with one lovely lady, and at this event, I get to sit with 11. That's fun. It's also a bit like a funeral, except that I'm not dead. So it's an amazing moment. People have come from, as Barb mentioned, from Saudi Arabia, flown all the way from Beijing to be here, flown all the way from Sri Lanka, flown all the way from the West Coast, Miami, Key West. I'm just so honored that you all have come, and even if you've come from around the corner, it means a lot to me. Being the CEO of Grameen Foundation is a uniquely stimulating, enjoyable job, but it also, because of what's at stake, there's also a feeling of burden sometimes. And up until last May, I was the only person who'd ever carried all of those things, including the burden. But since May, David Edelstein has played that role, and I give you an A+, David, for the work you've done since then. Thank you so much. And I also want to congratulate Steve Hollingworth on his appointment as my successor, and on our fabulous board for attracting someone of his caliber. And let me just tell you something really straight. Do not ever try to plan a gala of this magnitude in 5.5 months in a city that you've never had a gala in, unless you have people like Ricky Helfer, and Sandy Clark, and especially Laura Tarr to organize it. When we started Grameen Foundation, it was very small. $6,000 was our seed capital. And by the way, if anyone ever comes to you and asks if you to start an organization with $6,000, please come talk to me first before you actually commit to it, okay? Just this guy. But we had little in the way of cash, experience, expertise in running organizations. I never managed anyone. I never raised a dollar. But we made the most of what little we had. Like microfinance, we focused more not on our weaknesses, but on our strengths. We had, with Jeff Davis and Jackie Littman, we were beginners, but a beginner's mind is a learning mind, is a curious mind. We were out there to ask people to help us, to be our mentors, people like Jim Sams, Dick Gunther. The other thing we had going for us was that some of us had been to see Grameen in Bangladesh. We saw what was possible in one country, a country once called the world's basket case by our Secretary of State, that was turning itself around, woman by woman. And we were charged to actually bring those lessons globally. And we knew what was at stake, and we were going to do, we were so motivated, we were going to do whatever we could. And that led to a third strength, which was we were unbelievably bold. We asked everyone that we met, including many people in this room, to do incredible things to help us. And you all and many others responded brilliantly. Some immediately, some it took a little time, but you gave of your money, of your time, of your wisdom, of your influence, of your reputation, beyond what I think anyone could have expected. That said a lot about you, but it also said a lot about us and the potential we had, and it motivated us to go forward. I remember a few weeks into Grameen Foundation's history, I was sitting with a guy, David Ford, then at the Chase Manhattan Foundation, and he just sized me up, and he knew that we didn't really have much of anything. We were almost out of the $6,000, and he just said, I'll give you something. I'll give you $10,000. You'll have it next week. And boy, that one act of someone who was just willing to take a chance on an unproven person, organization, or product, that got us through the summer of 1997, and it was all from there. A lot of other things happened. And MasterCard and so many other organizations have come on at different stages. And by the way, of course, Chase Manhattan Foundation is now part of JP Morgan, and we're so pleased that you're such an important part of our family here. So when I think about the forces that have shaped Grameen Foundation, at least through my experience, I think first of the wise men and the dynamic women. The wise men, the people that were always there with a word of encouragement and counsel, quietly and in the background, people like John Anderson, Norm Tanina, Bob Eichfeld, Wayne Silby, and many others. And then these powerful women. These women who made things happen. And when they needed to, and I do mean you, that they knew when it was time to ask for forgiveness, not permission, and just get on with it. And I'm talking about people like Jennifer Meehan, Camilla Nestor, Susan Davis, Barb Weber, Gigi Gotti, Yolanda Walker. Boy, we've been blessed with great people. Day to day, I've had the most contact with my executive assistants. And all but one of them are here tonight in one form or another. Rob Sasser, Tani Ashraf, Samir Sheikh, Ven Suresh. These people have served me incredibly well. In fact, Ven, where's Ven? When I announced my departure, Ven got another job quickly, as we all knew he would, because we worked so well together, and I was going. He then agreed, as a volunteer, to continue staffing me for 5 months after hours in the evening, so I would have someone to support me. So Ven Suresh, thank you so much. And then, beyond my assistants, to most day-to-day contact with the board, we are chairs, amazing chairs. Reed Oppenheimer, Jim Sam, Susan Davis, Paul Moritz, Bob Eichfeld, all of whom are here with us in one form or another, except for Reed, who's actually being honored at a gala in Dallas tonight for his role in starting Grameen Foundation as our founding chair. So we'll give him that for not being here, okay? Cut him a little slack. So, in the spirit of Bob Ottenhoff, giving some advice on your final speech with the organization, let me give you 3 reflections, and then I'll end with a final story. Grameen Foundation, as you go forward, don't be afraid to be different, to speak out against the conventional wisdom if you think it's wrong, to take an unpopular view, even to take a view alone, to speak out strongly for the things you're for and strongly against the things you're against, even if you're alone or unpopular. Never be contrarian for its own sake, but always speak out as a matter of principle. Second, don't forget that we're not just an organization, we're a family. We're a Grameen family of organizations. Grameen America is here. There's a wider network of Grameen organizations we're part of. We have joint ventures that we've launched, like Grameen Jameel. The Microfinance CEO Working Group is a family we're part of. And we're part of, in the biggest sense, a global movement to eradicate poverty. And so these are things that, while we try to optimize ourselves as an organization, that to honor and be part of the families we're part of. And third piece of advice, don't hesitate to ask people and organizations for all that we want and all that we need to accomplish our mission. You see, because that was the brilliance of the early days. We didn't have access to too many people, but the people we did have access to, we asked them for a lot. Right, Betty? We asked Jim to do more than you can imagine asking a volunteer to do. Why? What are the 2 possibilities? Number 1, people may surprise you and actually do exactly what you've asked or more. Or, if they don't, they'll respect you for the urgency and the sense of commitment that you asked for something so big, and they'll probably be flattered as well. Ask for everything you want. And people will come forward and we will continue to grow and have the impact we have. Now, you have lots of work to do, but people don't appreciate that poverty is coming down in the world. In one generation, it's gone from 35% to 14%. And it's not just India and China. And if you look on your places, you'll see a document about our successes, our biggest successes in 18 years. And so we have our fingerprints on this global trend. You can look at our report card. And other organizations here have had their fingerprints on it too. Organizations like Action and CARE and Calvert and Foncosé and BRAC. This is a decentralized effort. It's a team effort. And when the history of the end of poverty is written, you'll see progress on whatever slope it happens, but you'll also see moments in time. Moments in time like the Microcredit Summit, original Microcredit Summit that Jackie spoke about, that mobilized the global effort, and I'm so pleased that the founder of that, Sam Daly Harris, is here tonight. I just want to share. And, in 2007, I saw so many organizations, whether it was the Deutsche Bank Microcredit Development Fund or Grameen Foundation, celebrating their 10-year anniversaries. That's because something special happened in 1997, historic in the history of ending poverty. And I submit to you that tonight, with this goal of 25 million to be reached, as a down payment on eliminating poverty from the face of the earth, that you'll want to know, people will be respect, and you will remember that you were here tonight, because I think tonight is another turning point. And let's make that the case. Let's reach that goal early. Let's reach it boldly. Let's measure what we do along the way. Now, several people mentioned I've become a music lover in recent years. And my younger brother, Michael, who's really inherited all the artistic genes of the family, who's here with us. But I didn't have to have musical talent to appreciate and support and promote music. And when I met Danny and Tim Carter, who will be playing here very shortly, I fell in love with their music, their commitment to art, and I appointed myself, of course, the president of their fan club. Because it's nice to be the president. And that turned me into a music lover. I became a very big fan of a band locally in DC, the Stacey Brooks Band. And one night when they had a really exciting gig, I came in, I sprained my ankle the night before thanks to my friend Joan Robbins, but that's another story. And I hobbled in, and not for the first nor the last time when I walked in, they were playing, I was the only white person in the audience. I looked a little out of place. In the middle of the song that Stacey was playing, when I walked in, during an instrumental, she came off the stage, walked over to me and hugged me, and walked back on the stage and finished her song. And it was a signal to everyone there that I belonged, that I was included. And it just made me think ever since, what a great thing this human tradition of a hug is. Right? It's an expression of love, of common humanity, of inclusion, encouragement, affection, solidarity. It costs nothing, and it takes very little time. And isn't that at its core what Grameen Foundation is doing? We provide information or a financial service, a loan, but it's the intention behind it. It's those things to create change, to create solidarity, to create self-belief, to encourage. That's why we do it. And we measure very carefully how many times those services lead to those changes. So as we go forth from this place tonight, let's give a lot of hugs. Let's get in touch with our inner Stacey Brooks. Give Grameen Foundation a hug. I know you know how to give Grameen Foundation a hug. Give Stacey and the musicians a hug by coming on the dance floor tonight. You can't embarrass yourself more than I will. Give a loved one a hug. Or give a relative stranger a hug. Give someone who looks out of place, or give someone who looks vulnerable a hug. And you know what? We're all vulnerable. To different degrees and in different ways, but we all are. And because in those hugs, whether literal or figurative, the person who initiates it, like so much of Grameen Foundation's work, the person who initiates it gets back at least as much as they give. And creates a world with more hope, with more solidarity, with more inclusion, with more empathy, and with more progress. Thank you very much. Good night.
We've had an extraordinary night together, paying tribute to an extraordinary person and to an organization that carries on that legacy in an extraordinary manner. And the mission is extraordinary. You've heard a lot about the spirit. You've heard about giving a hug. I'm going to be the person who has to remind you that thought has to become the parent to deed. Deed in this case means the pledge card, right? So let's make a resolve. If you were moved by the words tonight, you'll reach for that pledge card and you'll act on it. And then each time Alex wanders onto the dance floor, you'll go to it a second time. Right? And it'll be sort of an exponential power raise each time he goes on. And at the end, Alex will know that his legacy is not only enduring in spirit and an example and in deed, but financially taking care of the future of the foundation. And so, Alex, on behalf of all of us, thank you for the extraordinary time we've shared with you tonight.
Here, here.
And now, it's time for the music. It's time for anybody during the music who wants to offer additional comments to rise up and say the words in the spirit, and let's have a good time for the rest of the night. Thank you very much.
Hey, so you guys, before you leave the room, the band and myself have something to present to Alex Counts. Can you please come to the stage, Mr. Counts, dancing machine, my buddy for life. Hey Emily, where are you? I want you to see this. I want you to see what he's getting from me, okay? Alright? So look, for those of you that were lucky enough for Alex to he bought like 50 of my CDs when it came out, and I know some of you might have received it for Christmas, but there's a song on there that's called Red Pumps and Cognac. That is Alex's favorite song. So, Alex, since you're always looking for the red pumps and cognac, I decided to give you your own